All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome tonight. We got a very special guest, Aldo from Barroom Network, is on with us, and man, are we excited to talk some football with you. I've been really looking forward to this, so thank you so much for coming on with us. Love your channel, love what you do, especially with Dan. One of the things I like best about what you and Dan do is you guys at the end of the day are just friends.
Yeah.
And I think to us that's pretty awesome, and it kind of relates, So yeah, we're glad to have you on, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. And again, I did this just before the show, but I want to do it publicly. I apologize for missing last week's performance. I'm going to make it up for you guys by doing a belly dance in the middle of the interview.
It's unnecessary.
Good,
we're not asking you to do the belly dance, just so everybody's aware. It's just totally voluntary if you choose to do so. No, you don't have to, man. Yeah, so how about you, Dave? How you doing tonight?
Muted.
Dave, you are muted.
Good. Yep, sorry guys. Ready to go. Super stoked. We got a bunch of extra, questions lined up for Aldo. We can't wait we got them ready to go, and yeah, we're excited to talk.
Yep, and then I love her new logo too. Just want to give a shout out to J2K Designs for definitely doing our graphics and doing an amazing job with it. I mean, we're so thrilled to be able to have him help us out and help us kind of get the channel more updated and looking much better. So thank you so much, J2K Designs. For anybody who doesn't know him, definitely check him out. J2KDesigns.com. So yeah, it's Hard Knocks tomorrow, right?
Woohoo! Years and years of waiting for the Bears to be on Hard Knocks, and the wait is over tomorrow night. Can't wait.
Aldo, have you seen the trailer and for the first original episode? Did you have any thoughts going into that with the trailer and everything?
I thought they nailed it. That the trailer captured the history of the Bears of my lifetime, because I started watching the Bears when Dick Butkus was still playing and Gale Sayers was still playing. So I go back that far, and for them to start their trailer with some of the Bears players from that era in the 70s and moving on and so forth, and capturing the spirit of the city and capturing the brand of the Bears. It's always been hard hitting and knock people down and hard running and so forth. I thought the trailer, the first 30 seconds or so, captured the essence of the Chicago Bears, and then they segue to Eberflus's and Pace's Chicago Bears. I thought it was really well done, and I can't wait to see what they come up with. We're just coming off the New York Giants one, and the access that they had behind the scenes from a GM and player personnel was fantastic. I hope we get a glimpse of what's going on in Ryan Poles' office.
Well, not only Ryan Poles, I think the McCaskies have tried to keep him away now the whole time. So that's kind of interesting too, to just kind of try and get an insight. I always make little jokes. Like the reason why we replaced Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace with Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles is because you only had to replace one of the name tags of each of them on the office. It saves you like $12. Little details like that, just put it over the top, but I kid around. I do want to kind of get an insight on what that whole ordeal is. And I guess the teams get a final say, but it's like if they do, then the Giants must have fumbled that one too, because it was a little intrusive there. I wouldn't be comfortable if it was my team necessarily.
Yeah, the Bears brought in, this was 3 months ago, a new guy to be head of communications, kind of a special position that they had. And that was the clue that we all should have known. They're going to be on Hard Knocks because that's going to be that guy's job to work shoulder to shoulder with the HBO producers and say, you can't use that, you can use this. And then during interviews, helping the players to what they say and so forth, which as a former communications specialist, that's the way to do it. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Matt Eberflus, to me, is so much better this year behind the podium. He feels more comfortable. He's more authentic. He's been talking about Dave, you were talking about, some of the X's and O's and stuff before the show and learning about that stuff. Eberflus is giving us education about Austin Booker's strengths and what he does and moves, and he's good at the split, and he's good at using his arms and stuff. And that's stuff that he wasn't doing as much last year. And I bet you that came from the communication specialist and said, go up there and talk football. And hopefully HBO will capture that too, and all of America, but particularly Chicago Bears fans, are going to feel really confident about the Bears after what HBO puts out tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Matt Eberflus had that really good glow up this offseason, so I think that's kind of where some of that that charisma's maybe coming from too, and all that. But like you said, for sure, I think they've all gotten a lot better at communicating maybe this year, and I think like maybe part of that transition is even Ryan Poles seems a little bit looser this offseason, right? And then Matt Eberflus seems, I think that pressure of being the losers and kind of having that pressure of like answering for all these faults and, why is this not working? Why is that not working? And now you kind of have this new approach and this new kind of, I don't know, this attitude about it. The air is a little different with like Caleb and Rome and all this stuff. And if it doesn't work out, maybe it'll all resort back to what they were dealing with, right? And it's like, Caleb has all these tools. Why isn't it working and stuff like that? But I think you're right on the money in terms of the communication being better. And maybe that's a little bit of help from that extra communications guy. But for sure, I think there's just like a little different air in the building this offseason. And I'm wondering if that's like performative or you think they're really just feeling it now,
I think there's a really, really good feeling. I mean, even back when Justin Fields was here, there were a lot of players on the Chicago Bears team who said, I really like what they're building here. They're doing it the right way, tear everything down, start from scratch. It's very painful for the players and the fans. We don't want to go through all that losing, but that truly is the best way to build an organization that's going to sustain success. And I think that with the acquisitions from this past season, this team is really, really feeling it at Hallis Hall. And, you got a dynamic guy like Caleb who comes in, pretty polished because he's done all the endorsement things. He knows how to talk. Everybody's talking about his leadership skills. He told the guys after practice when they were going to go, the final word, he said he gave them a mini lecture on cleaning up after themselves and being professional and so forth. You don't ever hear a rookie quarterback telling veterans in the NFL to clean up after themselves. It took balls on his part, and he did it. And the veterans afterwards were talking, with admiration about that. But I do got to say this, I disagree with you. I don't really want to see much of or any of McCaskey and very little of Warren. If Warren is going to be on, Paul, I think it has to be that he's doing something about the new stadium. But I don't want him talking football. I don't want him to talk about his days with the Cardinals and we won the Super Bowl and so forth. I want to hear from the players and the coaches.
Yeah, and I think you're mostly going to get video on the players because those are the biggest characters. Those are the guys that will give you the best show, the best entertainment product if that's what you're after. I mean, there's some characters on this team, and they've already come out with little clips of DJ Moore and Keenan Allen talking back and forth. And if you've ever seen DeMarcus Walker talk, he's just a good time to listen to. I mean, I've had like that guy as my friend. He's just funny, Kyler Gordon's on there. Like there's a lot of different characters. And it definitely, it's wild because I said it so many times before, like, oh, it feels different. It feels different. It feels different. And this time I'm thinking like it is different.
Yeah.
Because even without Caleb, we still win this trade. We're not hamstringing ourselves desperately to try and grab something that isn't there in hopes of the future. No, we built this thing and it still has a future. We have 10 draft picks next year, right? Yes, I mean, it still has plenty of options and paths to go no matter how the season goes and ways to be able to, fill holes and things like that. So yeah, I'm super excited.
He's laid out a really nice plan for rebuilding a team. It's taken a little while, but it's a nice plan. I'm sorry.
No, not to kind of intermix sports here, but like this does have a bit of the I don't know how much of a Cubs fan versus a Sox fan you are, but it's got a little bit of that Theo Epstein 2016 Cubs vibe where Theo Epstein came in and like top to bottom. And I've been me and Paulie have had many arguments about this where when you have like these fundamental changes, I think as a franchise, you need to go as close to the top of the head of the snake as you possibly can. And that's where you start making the changes. But like the McCaskies are not going to give up ownership. I would love if Jeff Bezos owned the Chicago Bears. Don't like, you know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. It's a competitive guy with lots of money, wants to win, wants to be successful.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
But you can't get rid of the McCaskies, right? And that's kind of two part of my question is like the comment is, 2016 Cubs vibe, I think, is kind of here because of Kevin Warren and how much control they gave Ryan Poles for a change.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that McCaskies are just notorious for hiring yes men and guys that just agree with them and are just really polite to their faces and just do what they need them to do. But what do you think? And this has kind of been racking my brain, and maybe somebody who's like more into the history of the McCaskies or like talks to people like Greg Gabriel. What do you think the McCaskies were working so hard to kind of hide or like shy away from and fighting off Hard Knocks for so long? Like, what do you think? Maybe not what we're going to see, because like you said, I hope we don't see too much McCaskey. And if we do, I almost want it to be like a Twitter moment where it's just like, George is such a dork. Right. But like, what do you think it is about that they were like fighting them off with the stick so hard?
I think that they were listening to their head coaches. It's been over the years. It's been Lovie Smith and Trestman, maybe not as much, but he wasn't that long. He couldn't do it in his rookie year because the NFL will not allow a rookie coach to be featured on Hard Knocks. So in his second year, they were probably feeling, we still got to fix some things before we had cameras rolling around. John Fox was certainly not going to let HBO cameras around. He's an old guy. He was the guy that instituted the Greg Braggs rule at camp, the so-called Greg Braggs. Greg was taking great video at practices and posting them on the internet, and John Fox was going crazy. And that's when the Bears, now you can't pull out your cell phone camera unless you get, looked down like you're going to get shot by the local police out there. So, I think it was them trying to appease their head coaches first and foremost. I don't think that they were trying to hide any, dysfunction or anything like that. They were just following the coach's word, is my gut feel.
Eberflus has tricks up his sleeve. So we don't want to give any of those away, right?
Well, I think this new communications guy, is probably pretty good at saying, okay, this is how we get around some of that stuff. And don't you worry. In the edit, I'm not going to allow any of that stuff. So I think that's part of the formula as to why we're finally seeing them on Hard Knocks.
Well, speaking of Hard Knocks, I have a quick 1 minute little video, just a little beginning to one of the hype videos we've made recently on BEARSKIFILM. So I just want to kind of show that real quick.
Chicago Bears, man. How you doing?
I'm good.
They told me to hold it for 5 minutes. I told everyone I've been holding it for a month.
5 months. 5 months. I've been holding for 5 months.
With the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams.
So you want to win. That's it.
Great video.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, and it's just, man, I put these videos together and then I watch them, and then even I like rewatch them. I rewatch them. I mean, I'm a fan of the content too, so it's so I'm hyped, man. I'm ready to go. And Caleb, it is impressive to kind of see that finally we have a rookie doing some things right that looks like it's actually going to go on the path it's supposed to go on. I mean, I love the one clip. It's hard to tell from ground level highlights what's going on and things like that. I mean, the best way is obviously to watch A22 film, right? But I mean, there's this one clip where you can just see him looking left, and you see Tremaine Edmonds, 49, kind of go across the screen, and then he just throws right. And it's just like, okay, good job, kid. You looked off the linebacker, and he's a pretty good linebacker. You know what I mean? So it's like stuff like that that's nice to see from, even a rookie quarterback. And I think there is absolutely no reason why his progression has any, huge obstacles that he won't grow exactly how he should. But a lot of people are placing a lot of crazy numbers out there. I mean, I've been hearing we're gonna have 3 wide receivers with 1,000 yards each. Okay,
DJ Moore said that.
right. So what do you think of that? I mean, because if that's the case, then you're throwing for a lot of yards there, right? There's more than 3 guys on the team, so
Yeah, exactly. Between the tight ends, you got to add at least another 900, 1,000, and then the running back. Swift is really good at yards after the catch, so you're adding another 4. Jeez, I mean, I don't see it happening, but hell, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we will see, at least Odunze get 800 and the 2 veteran receivers get 1,000. That would be sensational. And a lot of it, I think, in today's NFL is yards after the catch. You'll have the speedsters on the team to stretch often defenses and connect on long ball from now and then. And with Caleb's escapability, he's going to create big play touchdowns or big gainers. So there is the chance to get a lot of yards. I just think that we should always, when we're talking about a rookie quarterback, should always temper expectations because you're going to be let down. I know it from Trubisky, Fields, and a number of other quarterbacks in Bears history.
Do you know who holds the rookie record for passing yards?
Ooh, that's a good one. Man, I'm going to guess Jim McMahon.
No, you actually just said his name.
Who did I say?
Mr. Trubisky.
It's Mitchell.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and now you gotta admit though that a lot of those passes, because I have an argument or debate every time with Mike North on at the Barroom when he's on, a lot of those yards that Trubisky completed were, wide receiver screens. They were short passes. The ball was in the air 5-10 yards. His long ball, he didn't complete that many passes and intermediary passes. That there was also a drought there. I think he benefited a lot from good defensive play and good yards after the catch. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, my biggest joke with the last few coaches with Mitch specifically, and then Fields, is like, you ask Mitch Trubisky, like, what are you good at, Mitch? Like, what do you want to do? And he goes like, well, I'm pretty athletic. I like to throw short, on the run. And then Matt Nagy was like, all right, shut up. 4 wide, throw deep, and bubble screens, and then Fields, kind of the same thing, It's like, hey, what do you like to do well? Like, throw deep, and I'm really athletic. All right, man, we're going to make you a pocket passer, so shut up. And then we're going to, just hand off on all these things. And it's just, so I think that's probably what you're alluding to with Caleb is just kind of, it's going to be nice to see these. And I'm seeing some comments, especially with Shorty here, with talking about DJ Moore, talking about making every play the same, and how you're saying a lot of the modern NFL is just run after the catch. And I think from what we've heard so far for Caleb, they're not going to ask him to do too much. And just, you can read tea leaves in terms of what moves you make and what you do. And I was telling Paulie, I'm doing a full rewatch of the last season. And it's kind of fun when you watch every game in order, you kind of get a different vibe than when you live it week to week and every emotion's week to week and all that stuff. But when you kind of go through it really quickly, all in all, there's such a tone to the season. I remember just thinking, man, if Cole Kmet gets the ball a little bit more in open space and just give him a drag route, right? Open up the field on the outside, give him a drag route. DJ Moore, give him a slant for Christ's sake. I think I'm like 10, 11 games in. I don't think I saw more than 10 slants that were just executed, on the run. So I think that's kind of what you're alluding to is like, hopefully you're just not asking Caleb Williams to do too much. You got these skilled guys. DJ Moore is one of the best run after catch guys, like up there with AJ Brown, right? Just big, chunky, like stocky receiver who can shrug off some tackles. And then you can sprinkle in those like fun little splash plays with Rome, and Keenan's your security blanket over the middle. I'm probably taking DeAndre Swift in fantasy just because I think he's going to get like 6 catches, 7 catches a game, right? They're giving these I'm watching a lot of Matt Waldron stuff, and he does a lot of those statistically, he like goes into empty set more than anybody else from last year, but he did it with like motions. So he would have the, two running backs in the back. They both motion up. Now it's an empty, and it's just one of those like extended handoff plays.
Nice.
Right? It's like you get 4-6 yards, but it's so automatic and stuff like that. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Is it going to lead to Caleb having a 4,000 yard season? Maybe not, just because that's not realistic. But I think hopefully that's the tea leaves I'm seeing right now, is just kind of like simple. Let the defense do some work. I'm not feeling too confident about this O-line right now. So like, hopefully, it's just keeping it simple and not asking him to be the hero in season 1, because that would be the quickest way to ruin another quarterback, right? Is like we keep asking these guys to be a hero in their first and second season and to get their brains bashed in.
Yeah. And you're right. I agree with you. We've had so many offensive coordinators in the past saying we're going to build the offense around the talents of the players, and we've never really seen that. And so hopefully Shane is the guy that's going to live up to that expectation, because we know that's the best way to win football games. He's got so many weapons. And so now it's just about scouting the opposition for the next week and then saying, okay, we've got these players or these formations or these strengths on our offense that can combat their weaknesses, because the versatility of players and formations that they have. They can run 2 tight ends out of the back, which I saw Seattle do last season. They can do a 3 wide receiver set with 2 tight ends. Wouldn't be good for DeAndre Swift, but that could be one of the formations that they do. Or they can have, DeAndre Swift lined out and then in motion, putting him in the running back position with the 2 tight ends already in the field. And then boom, he's gone on a long run or a long pass catch. So they've got all these weapons that allow Shane to be versatile, but also, if he can figure out a good plan every week to use these players' strengths and that versatile plan for each week, this could be a real explosive offense. Absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to let Shorty know that at some point I did have hair. I know it's hard to believe, but it used to be long and luscious. And then I must have been, I was not that old. I mean, me and David were still working together. I think maybe I was like 24 years old. And for Halloween, I decided to go as a Blue Man Group, right? And I'm just going to be fully dedicated and shave my head. And then like 6 months later, I'm like, it's not coming back.
Oh, no. Holy cow.
So, yeah, that's how that went. And then
the hair just went, and now I can rest. And then,
yeah. Correct. So,
many years ago, sat down to have a few beers with a longtime film cameraman in Chicago, and this was back, last century. So we're, TV crews were still shooting film, lace up and so he was relaying this story that when he was in his early 20s, he went out to shoot some film with one of the big producers in Chicago and stuff, and then he realized that he had done something wrong when he was threading the film and the camera, and that the film was probably going to come out all overexposed or burn-ins and stuff like that. And he said, I could literally see the hair from my head falling down because he was so stressed out. And, that scared the shit out of me, because I was in my early 20s and in the business of shooting film thinking, I don't want to ever be that fucking, excuse my language, terrified of, losing my hair just because I did something wrong at work. Wow.
Yeah. I always wanted to, go as George Costanza and dedicate myself to that. And now I could probably pull that off pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I wanted to also bring this up and talk about another little subject. So I'm just going to play a little clip here.
Jaylon, the top 100 list came out, and
Yeah.
didn't make it out. What do you make of it?
Point blank period. There ain't no way there's 100 guys. I mean, especially if we going by the season, like, is it by season? Is it just by names? There ain't no way. I don't know how you make Pro Bowl, All Pro, and you're not a top 100 guy. I mean, I could have been 101, I guess, but Aaron Rodgers didn't even play in the season. He was voted. So, I mean, hey, 100% is disrespectful. It's disrespectful. Yeah, no, it's disrespectful. But I know I go out there and line up, and I know receivers go out there and can't say that I'm not one of the best people, like, best player they played against. Ain't no way 100 guys better. Ain't no way. And especially guys who didn't play, who were hurt, played half. Ain't no. I'm sorry, excuse my language. Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you heard him say that recently, and yeah, I have conflicting thoughts because on one end, I definitely think and believe that he does deserve to be in the top 100, and especially like he said, if a guy who didn't play last year can make it, then what's the deal here? And so I get that part of it, and I get the disrespect part of it.
Sure.
But and when you take a look at who's ahead of him, and I'll pull that up in a second here. It's not, there are some names that you can see he's better than that, but I've always still considered him to be just like a very, very good player, and still not necessarily a superstar. You know what I mean? And also, I think it doesn't help being on a losing team, a losing roster, and so I think maybe next year he'll make that list and he'll crack that list. But I can kind of understand it to a degree, a little bit of why it didn't happen. But yeah, it seems like he took it a little personal, huh?
He did, and the thing is like, if you remember a year ago at this point, there was division between Chicago Bears fans as to whether Jaylon should be extended, given a contract extension, because everybody would say he doesn't make interceptions. That's the big thing. That's the big thing. And as soon as they traded for Montez Sweat, all of a sudden he's making interceptions, because all of the best interceptors in the National Football League have a pass rush, and the Bears had nothing resembling a pass rush before Montez Sweat. So that was the big thing. The other thing I'd like to say is, I think a lot of this voting stuff by NFL players, they get this stuff in the mail, or they print it out from email, and they hand it to their son. Hey, a guy at the bar, you want to fill this out for me? They don't take it seriously, and so that there's a lot of factors why he's out of that 100. I would add those two, Paul, to your assertion.
Funny thing is actually I'm pointing at one of the guys who didn't want to give Jaylon a contract. So
for the right price. Well, for the right price. But that's my thing, is because because he didn't have the interceptions. And although you hit the nail on the head, it's the defensive line pressure that matters so much to create opportunities for these guys. I mean, we always talk back about the 2006 season and point to a guy like Nate Vasher. I think he had 7 interceptions that year. And if you look at him, it's always just right place, right time. He never matched that number throughout the rest of his career. And yeah, there was defensive line pressure that year, and things were going according to plan, and you were going to have opportunities at turnovers. And so, at the beginning of the year, we did bold predictions, David. I don't know if you remember. We did an offensive bold prediction and a defensive bold prediction. And my defensive one was that Jaylon Johnson will get 2 interceptions. Right? Because, I mean, that's where it was at. And so when it comes to contract time, I think when we discussed it, 18 million's right kind of where it made sense to us even. And then for it to happen that way was just like, wow, that is really, that's a good contract on both sides. Because if he wanted to be the top paid corner in the league, I probably would have passed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's so funny because you said it that way. I remember the way you predicted it was hilarious, because you went, he's going to double his career total this season with 2.
Guilty.
Yeah. And then, we basically said it, because I said give him 20, you said 16, and they gave him out, 18. So that makes sense. 2 things about that list, which although I think perfect, like what you said, for Jaylon, poor Jaylon, because they did do honorable mentions in that list. So he was like, maybe I was 101. He's not even 110, which I think that's silly as hell. 2, like you were saying, with these guys that just fill this list out either arbitrarily or honestly, I think it's by feeling sometimes. Because when you go back to last year's top 100, I think Justin Fields is in like the 40s or the 60s. And I mean, we all, we don't say those names anymore. This is the Voldemort now. It's like JF. You just say that guy. But like,
in Pittsburgh,
that guy in Pittsburgh, he's really like, he was fun to watch that one season. But to say he was the 40th best player in the league is silly. And then the third thing I'll say about it is any list that has this and doesn't have Patrick Mahomes at 1 is just null and void, right? And he was number 4 this year. So like you can't tell me that these players are kind of just like butthurt that he's knocking them out of the playoffs. He's winning rings every year, and they're just mad that, you know. So I don't know what it is Jaylon Johnson did to piss everybody off, but I mean, like he deserves to be at least in the 100. I mean, that's guaranteed.
And I think the other part of it, you know, I don't know if this was mentioned. I don't think it was. Is, you know, he wasn't on national TV enough, or he didn't have those games on national TV that helped. That, you know, a lot of football players, they watch a game a week. How can they vote on somebody they didn't even see play last season? And that's what's probably the case with a lot of these guys that voted. They never saw Jaylon Johnson play, because I want to say, was the last national TV game they had last year was against the Commanders early? No, there was one afterwards.
Man, see, this is where
I want to say it was the Packers.
This is where Dan Aguirre fits right in. He would know. He would know who commented it. I mean, that guy's memory is crazy. The Packers, David. Which
I was thinking maybe the finale.
No,
the finale.
I don't think
so.
No,
that was a Fox game. Maybe.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, it's weird, but
I don't get what you're getting at. Although it's like, you know, he had 2 picks against the Raiders. He had a pick against the Commanders. These kind of like. These not super great quarterbacks, but, you know, like, I mean, when you're still making Jair Alexander considered one of the best, you know, I remember a few Packers games watching lately where who was the guy we got from the Patriots, the super huge stud receiver, but didn't pan out.
Oh my gosh,
DeAndre Carter?
No.
No.
The big body.
Years ago,
Oh man,
2 years ago. We got him for the 7th round pick, and he just toasted him.
N'Keal
Harry, and then he just toasted Jair Alexander, and you still got Jair Alexander being a top, you know, whatever 50 player, and that guy's Looney Tune now. So
he really is. He goes out at the coin toss. He's not even one of the team captains, and he goes out because it was in his home city. And he calls the coin flip, and that could have been like a major disaster for the Packers in terms of fines or something like that. If I remember the story, yeah, Shari it's not a serious teammate. But he is a good athlete, a good player. But yeah, it's interesting. Did you see? Would you take a look at the schedule, Paul?
It's kind of hard to find
the last national.
They had times. Yeah, it's a little rough. So I don't know if I'll be able to find it.
That's fine.
But it's crazy because like the Washington game was week 5.
Yeah, it was early.
So it's like, do we really go that many more weeks without a primetime game? But I can't think of one. And it's like I drive out, you know, sometimes I work and stuff those days and be driving home for like the first quarter. And yeah, I remember doing that during the Washington game. I don't know if I remember doing that again. Yeah. So it's you might be right on that one.
Either way, I'm hoping Jaylon keeps it up because, you know, would I bet, you know, my Social Security check that Jaylon Johnson is going to have a Pro Bowl caliber season this season? My heart as a Bears fan would say yes. But given the body of work, I don't think it's a sure bet. The guy is good. A lot is going to depend about what happens around him. Is Montez Sweat and Jervon Dexter, you know, because those are the 2 primary pass rushers as of today. Maybe Booker. Are those guys going to provide a push to help the defensive backs? Is Tyreek Stevenson going to be, you know, that other lockdown type cornerback? And he's shown signs that he can be, so that Jaylon Johnson can get passes thrown his way. You know, so there's a lot of different factors involved. You know, as a Bears fan, I will say they're going to go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl 100-0. But when I put my head down in the pillow, I go, "What the hell did I say?"
I was doing the numbers.
Hold on,
sorry,
real quick. I did find this. I did find that we were scheduled for 4. We were scheduled for the Washington one.
Okay.
The Chargers.
Oh yeah,
scheduled the Panthers and then the Vikings week 12.
Okay,
I'm not sure if
Panthers would have been the last one.
Probably.
Panthers was a Thursday nighter.
Right. I think the Vikings one was flexed. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
the Chargers might have been flexed too, because I think at that point Justin Herbert was hurt and Justin Fields. But
What were you going to say,
no,
though, David?
Oh, to Aldo's point, like, yeah, for sure. I was doing the numbers and I saw this statistic. 10 or 8 games into the season, Jaylon Johnson was targeted, I want to say like 26 times. By the time Tyreek Stevenson was targeted about like 80 times. So like last year, I mean, it's just one of those things where like corners have a hard time, justifying their stats when they're not getting picks. But if you're not getting thrown at, that's kind of part of the whole justification of the stats, right? Is like, he's so locked down, I'm not even going to look that way. I'm just going to abuse the other guy. And so like what Tyreek is kind of proving is he's no scrub now. He had that one game against the Raiders. He locked up Devontae Adams. I mean, I remember a few games where he locked up a couple of like number ones towards the middle end of the season for Tyreek. And then Kyler, who, got a lot better. Terrell Smith is getting, some time now. So that dime set's looking really good. And then, I think part of that is what you're alluding to is like, would you bet your social on Jaylon Johnson having a year? A, he didn't get paid like a top flight corner, and B, I mean, until he does it again, he's a guy who played really well in his contract year. So this is the year, right? Because like we've seen it 100 times in the NFL, is guys get super motivated, they play like balls to the wall, lights out their contract year, they get paid, and then they chill, and then they kind of take a little dip. But hopefully this pissed them off just enough to kind of, like, I'm that disrespected. I got paid in a good year, and that's what I get. Like, I think it might have been a kind of blessing in disguise. I'm not one of those rah-rah guys, but it might have been.
So devil's advocate here, though. Devil's advocate. His interceptions did all come from backup quarterbacks, I believe. And so
low-level starters or backups, yes.
Right. Yeah. And then two, he could not be getting thrown at because he's locked the guy down, or he could not be getting thrown at because it's easier to target the other holes.
Sure, absolutely.
Because we were weaker in those spots. So there's different ways of looking at it. I'm just saying. So, I think now his secondary might be one of the good strengths on this team. So, Jaylon Johnson might see his first share of targets all of a sudden, I think.
I think it was a fortuitous thing because, as Dave said, and you said, Paul, you got the first half of the season. They're not throwing Jaylon's way. They're trying to pick on Tyreek, and Tyreek was challenged. And a lot of times he lost. He'd come up with a great play, but then a play later, pass interference for 40 yards and stuff, or got beat for a touchdown and so forth. So during that time, though, Jaylon is gaining more confidence because he's saying to himself, you guys are afraid to throw to me. I mean, he literally was saying that to the opposite team. You guys are afraid to throw to me. And Tyreek, he's a tough SOB. He's getting, steel. He is, what's the word that I want? He's getting steel out of being challenged over and over. He's so competitive. He just said, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. And by the second half of the season, the guy was playing rookie of the year level. So it could have been all, divine intervention that finally the Bears get a break and this worked out in their favor.
And I think what I told Paulie this I think at the end of the last year was we always try to call a few things early, but I remember like it was like week 8 or week 9, and I'm like, Paulie, this is a top 5 defense towards the end of the season. So like halfway through, once they got Montez Sweat and they started clicking and the defense started going through, I think we ended up being pretty okay with that just because I think they stumble into a few things. I think people tend to forget, and even like this year, is this we did the math, it was like 9 out of 11 starters from 2022 to 2023 were brand new. Like 9 out of 12. Even it was we don't have to go through the list, but now you got, I think they stumbled into a few upgrades as well. With Gervon Dexter, really, that was one of my guys, man. I'm glad that like everybody else is kind of on that train now too, because I was really loving that kid towards the end of the season. And then I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't think there's much of a downgrade possible than Eddie Jackson. Mm-hmm. So the Kevin Byard thing towards the end of last year, like Eddie Jackson, I mean, was just an absolute turnstile.
He is like the last safety to finally go somewhere.
And I think he
So
signed for like
it's not
$3
even our
million
insult.
bucks.
The
Like,
league isn't. It's throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Kevin Byard is going to be a huge upgrade, and he's already like getting huge praises in training camp for just a guy that's always in the right spot. He's like seen it all. He's 10 years in. Yeah, sure, he maybe is like losing a step or something, but he's a captain of the defense kind of thing, you know? Like, he can tell people what to do.
Have you heard the press conference with him? Yeah, I mean, he's smart too. Very smart.
Great leader, you know, uses his experience to help teach the younger guys. You know, I think he was at the podium on Saturday and Saturday, and he was talking about the other young defensive backs, and he said, you know, frankly, I don't consider them young. You know, Brisker and of course Jaylon Johnson and Tyreek, they've all played a lot of games. Tyreek, you know, 1 season, and Brisker two or three seasons, he said, and then Jaylon, of course, is Pro Bowl caliber. I don't consider these guys young, and I consider them, you know, really hungry. Every one of them wants to get to the next level, wants to get Pro Bowl and so forth. So he was, you know, the way he talks up that defensive back room is so effing impressive, and I don't think he's blowing smoke. You know, a lot of times it's this time of the year, everybody's having a great camp. You know, you turn on the NFL Network and they're at one camp. Yeah, things are great over here. Let's throw it to another camp. Yeah, things are great over here. Let's throw it to another camp. Things are even greater over here. It's like, come on, it can't be that good.
Funny how you say that, because I think that's where we all heard the Caleb Williams water bottle story, right? The pick up your towels thing from Kevin Byard. And it's so funny because, like, in society now, right, nobody can ever find a freaking middle ground. And it's so funny because you had people, and I remember him mentioning the water bottle thing, and instantly I just remembered that clip from NFL Films of Ed Reed talking about how the year they won the Super Bowl. Yes. And he was just like, boys, it's about the little things. Like, you guys, if this is how you treat your locker room and your space, then no wonder like your head's not in the right place, because you're not on it in that level. And then you got the very next day. You remember that, Paulie?
No, I posted it on Twitter recently on our Bearski Twitter.
Right, just immediately.
Nothing said, just video posted.
Yep, and then it's so funny because then you have like people like Amani Toomer, if you remember Amani Toomer in like the 2000s, the Giants receiver, and he's going out there going like, who the hell does this guy think he is? And he's, what a joke, and like, this is gonna be forget who he said, some rookie quarterback all over again, and then this and that. And it's just so stupid that we can't ever find some like nice middle ground. But I'm personally a fan.
And meanwhile, last year, when talks about drafting Jalen Carter came up, one of the things Ryan Poles said is he mentioned leadership in the locker room, not maybe being where it needs to be. And I think that might have changed real quick the second Caleb got there. And you see that in great quarterbacks. It's one of the things that really gets me excited.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I totally agreed with Ryan. You know, there's no doubt that Jalen Carter has all the tools to be a phenomenal defensive tackle, probably play at the same level as Aaron Donald. But it was clear that they spent a lot of time with the guy and did a lot of investigative work. This guy, we couldn't gamble on his maturity level, not getting him in trouble. And they're still pending lawsuits on him, people accusing him of this or that. So he's not completely out of the woods. And the Bears didn't have, they had some veterans on the team, but it's not like the Eagles. The Eagles are, a complete veteran team, offense and defense. That was a perfect situation for Carter. And we've been, as Bears fans, I think you guys are like me, for years and years, we've been saying, hey, how about the offensive line? How about the offensive line? So now you're able to trade back, pick up Darnell Wright as a cornerstone right tackle, get a little more draft assets. And so applause for Ryan Poles. I think that was a win for him. Now, Carter could end up being a Hall of Famer, but if Darnell Wright makes it to a few Pro Bowls and so forth, I will still stand by the fact that I think he made the right decision.
You know what's funny about
the
Eagles?
Don't know if... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You know what's funny about the Eagles? They're defensive coordinators. They went from Sean Desai to Vic Fangio.
Yes.
We went from Vic Fangio to Sean Desai, I'm pretty sure. I think they do it right over there. And,
right.
We might have it backwards.
Tell me about it.
I think the Jalen Carter thing by Aldo's like nailed it though, because for all we know, Jalen Carter would have been an absolute mess here, and we wouldn't be in this situation. And those little things add up. And who are we to like question that? Because Darnell Wright ended up being a really good pick. And if Gervon Dexter takes an extra year, but he's just as good as Jalen Carter or plays as well, then you're a winner. And like, hand up this year, I'm already like backpedaling so fast from my Byron Murphy take. it's not even funny. Like I wanted Byron Murphy. It's not even been like he hasn't even played a game yet, and I'm already like, good call on that because I wanted Byron Murphy from Texas so bad. And the few
He's
things
an
I've seen
impressive
from
guy.
that guy,
Yeah.
he's got some impressive controversies already too. It's pretty
Really,
cool.
what's happened? I haven't heard.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, so the first one is the video that came out of him on draft night, and I think he threw a party for like 800 people in his town or something. And he just like paid for all of it before he got a penny from the NFL. And then, yeah, sure. I like the idea of Byron Murphy, I guess, but I'm going to definitely backpedal on that one. And then the recent one is a little bit more Deshaun Watson-y. I'll give you that one. You can that one up where I think, I mean, this isn't a PG-13 show. So he had
yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, he had there's I want to say it's an escort or a friend of an escort or something that's saying like Byron Murphy refused to pay them, so he owes like an escort like 20 grand or something that he won't pay. Something crazy. I don't have the details right for sure, but
Yeah,
that dude's got some stuff going on already where I'm just like,
what's
dodge
hilarious?
that bullet.
Yeah.
We started this channel, and like I'm still terrible at Twitter. Like Twitter is one of the worst things for me. I don't know. It shows that I am aging. Like it's proof right there. I already don't know how to use Twitter. All right. But when I first started, I had like 10 subscribers maybe, and something came up about Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf. I just put on there like, well, I remember that I heard it at the time, and at the time it's not like information was as easily accessible as it is now. Like this story kind of leaked out. I mean, there's smoke, there's fire, right? And they said when Bill Polian interviewed these two guys, because they said he was very close between them both, right? And one of the things that stuck out to him was when they asked Peyton, if we draft you number 1 overall, what's the first thing you're going to do? He's like, give me the playbook. Give me the playbook. I want to see the playbook. I want to start starting plays. I want to know this. I want to know that. I want to know that. They asked Ryan Leaf, what's the first thing you're going to do? And he goes, oh, I'm going to Vegas. and listen, and wouldn't you know it, Ryan Leaf himself commented on it. And I was just
you guys were arguing for like 3 days.
We did. We went back and forth because then I found like the little article that had it, and I just posted it. It's from like 2000, like the story leaked in like 2008 or something, and he still called me a liar, and I'm just like,
Ryan Leaf, you and Ryan Leaf are disagreeing on social media.
I had 10 followers.
So in hindsight, it was a huge deal.
I don't know how to use Twitter. Does that mean he was like searching his name? Ryan Leaf, what's coming
probably,
up?
Probably,
this guy.
Or somebody sent it to him, yeah.
It was.
In hindsight, that was a wild moment. I remember you texting me being like, dude, is this
we
real?
made it?
Really? Is really Ryan Leaf yelling at me right now? Like, yeah, Ryan Leaf's yelling at you, dude.
Yeah, you know what? I think we actually responded with that just killed the whole conversation. I actually found the clip of him yelling at that reporter. Like 5 seconds of it. Like, what is it? Don't fucking talk to me or something. Like, just posted that.
I think you texted me like, I don't know how to respond.
After that. Yeah,
I don't know how to respond. I said, dude, just tell him, just write to him. Hey, you know what, Ryan? If you don't want to have a conversation, then it was just the clip. Don't talk to me, all right?
That's what it was.
Perfect.
It was good. It was fantastic.
That'll go viral for sure.
And and I would handle it just the same right now.
Maybe
more. Different.
I'm surprised, because I've seen him on NFL Network a couple of times, and he's been sort of on this, for lack of a better way of putting it, redemption tour where he's opening up about his drinking problems and so forth, and now he's a motivational speaker and stuff. So I'm surprised that he would engage in a Twitter battle regarding something that he's clearly wrong about.
Well, that's why he was like, I could tell the truth now, and that's a lie. And it's like, I get it. Like, but the story was out there. Like, it is what it is.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny.
Yeah, no, it was one of the interesting times of social media, and I love where our channel's coming, and especially watching guys like you do your thing. Man, I've heard. I mean, you're referred to as the Podfather. Like that's got to be such a cool nickname to have. And so,
Mr.
yeah.
Shorty gave it to me. I was like, hey, I like
That's a
that.
great nickname. That is a great nickname.
Better than some of the nicknames I grew up with, that's for sure.
I mean,
I'm not gonna
we just
share.
had ski to the ends of our name and call it there.
I love it. I love it. You guys got a good thing going on too. I've been really happy talking football with you guys, and the films that you're putting out on your YouTube channel and on X have been fantastic. So keep up the good work, guys. Keep it up.
Yeah. Speaking of those films, I have a 3-minute little clip that I want to play, and then we'll just close out the show right after that. David, you got anything to say before it, or should I just?
No.
All right, let's do it. Let's watch a little training camp hype video.
Very well done. Beautifully done.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I see you put Low Price Podcast, Aldi. I was listening to that podcast where you explained the little back and forth with you and Thigh and Smile. I was on Thigh and Smile's podcast like a week ago too. I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I know, although you're just outside of Chicago, David, maybe you will, but it did kind of go viral on the internet. I think it was right when COVID hit. Somebody went and spray painted an Aldi and they put all these nuts in your mouth or something, or all these nuts. So you can always, you can always come back with that too. You know what I mean? So
Thigh and Smile, his real name is Carl, so we started calling him Karl Marx on our show, and he didn't take kindly to that. He's really against Marxism, so good for you.
Truly hit a nerve. You really,
so he's calling me Aldi.
Yeah,
and I gotta commend you guys, because you guys have done a great job of quickly kind of assimilating yourself into the Bears podcast community. And I think we all need to do that. Yeah, we're all kind of fighting for market share, so to speak. There's a bucket full of Bears fans, and we all want them to see our work or hear our work. But I think that the best way to do that is for us to share, what we're doing with one another, have each other on each other's shows and networks and so forth. And then after that, it's up to the Bears fan themselves. I like this one a little better, or I like that one a little better, or whatever. But as long as we have a positive and friendly community, it makes everything that we do more worthwhile, as opposed to, wondering, who did he steal my stuff, or do I got more followers than him? Forget that stuff. Let's have fun.
We've talked about this in private, but I mean, we've already kind of reached our goal of where we would ever think we'd want to be as a YouTube channel and everything. So everything at this point is just cherries on top of sundaes and everything. So agree with you completely. This is our hobby. This is fun for us as well, and yeah, there's no room for the negativity of just like, your channel sucks and this is what, like, who cares, man?
Exactly. What we should be doing is, with respect towards one another, have good debates. Like I saw Mr. Shorty. I haven't had a chance to see the show that he posted the other day with a great title. It's a time to extend Eberflus. My immediate reaction is, what are you talking about? And then I started thinking about, well, wait a minute, maybe there's something there and stuff. So I want to see the show, but we should be engaging in respectful debates about how to build a football team, who to sign, who to release, who to look forward to, what's going to happen this week and so forth, as opposed to the petty stuff that we unfortunately have seen too much of.
Yeah, and and that's why it's funny, because it's like when I watch some of these podcasts, you get like these people, like these Lions fans that chime in here and there, and it's like, yeah, nobody wants to talk about the Lions. You guys don't have Lions channels out there. Meanwhile, we have so many Bears channels, and and we have it due to people that like joined us in chat tonight, like Shorty, Thian Smy, like Foster, like Ron, like Plank's always there. J2K helping us out all the time. Evie Davis is another one. Evie, I don't know if you know Evie or not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She donated her training camp ticket to me.
Oh, look at that. Awesome.
So I am so grateful for that. I'm going to be on a mission to get her a ball signed by somebody. And hopefully.
Which game are you going to?
I am going to August 14th.
Awesome.
Training camp.
Awesome.
Training camp. Yeah. So it's going to be really fun time. And yeah, and anybody else who tuned in, who wasn't in the chat, who I miss. And I mean, we appreciate everybody. And like David said, we had an idea of what we could do, and it started out by just us having conversations on the phone. Mm-hmm. And we're just like, we might as well just get this out there. And so it's always kind of been a plus from the beginning. And for us, it's all about having fun. It's all about being comfortable. We've known each other for a long time. That's why I said, that's why when I watch the Barroom Network and I forget the title, Bear Your Souls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, I always notice like you guys are friends. That's cool, and that's nice, and that's very relatable to what me and David are trying to do too. So we always appreciate you and your content and all the other sports content offered on the Barroom Network. I mean, I go through there, and I'm really big on football, not big on anything else, but I see you got a lot of different stuff up there, and you guys as a channel are definitely somebody that all of us podcasters look up to as a role model, even and as inspiration. So yeah, thank you for what you do. I mean, my brother-in-law just told me, like, I think I was watching that guy like 8 years ago. Or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how long you've been on, but I mean, you've been at it, man. So it's so wonderful for you to just even, be willing to come on with us. And yeah, it's great to have you, man.
I heard a lot of good things about your work, and I've seen your work, and so I'm really privileged to be here. So I really appreciate it. How'd you guys meet, by the way?
We worked at a restaurant. I don't know if we want to give him a shout out, but we worked food together. Yeah,
Freaky Fast. We were freaky fast. So I was the general manager, and he was one of the employees there.
Where is that? Freaky Fast? Is that like in the city's north side?
No, Jimmy John's.
Oh, it's Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
Jimmy John's.
I didn't want to throw the name out there, but whatever. Yeah, it was a Jimmy John's.
Okay.
So yeah, and we worked together for a couple of years. It's like after work, we were coming back and like playing like 2K5, remaking an entire roster on 2K5 to the current one. Like, just screw it. Let's
Oh my
just rate
God.
all the players.
We would, yeah,
Let's
we would
just rate
literally
every
just
player in the NFL.
We hated
just-
Madden, and so we would just sit there. We'd go after work after like 10 o'clock and just be up till 4 a.m. playing like NFL 2K5 football on PlayStation 2, and then just like
loving it.
to your point, like man, we have literally like, dude, you're a fucking idiot, you fucking moron, and then like
We have
talk to you in an hour, okay, see ya.
yeah,
Like,
like
you know what I
it's
mean?
really
So, like,
awkward. It's
Yeah.
like 2 days later, you just call. Okay, I got another thing I was thinking about.
Yeah.
What do you
You're a
think of this
fucking
and
moron.
this? We can call each other out. I mean, listen, I think what was it at the beginning of the year? You were like Justin Fields for Lamar Jackson. I was like, no. And then at the end of the year, you're like, hey, how about that Lamar Jackson trade, huh? I'm just like, so
yeah, we don't. There's
each
it's
other.
a good thick skin YouTube channel, man. We both have some good thick skin. We're ready for conversations. We'll always like have we chat, and then sometimes even me or Polly will be like, you know what? I'm gonna devil's advocate this one just to make you think a little different and talk a little different and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just
even
good
if I don't
fun
believe it
football
sometimes, yeah,
conversation.
whatever.
Absolutely. Good stuff,
So
man.
cool, man. So I think we're going on an hour here. I think we're gonna call it a night. Anything else? Are we all good?
Yeah, we're great. Again, appreciate you guys having me on. I'm gonna return the favor. We'll pick out a date soon and have you on one of our Tuesday night shows and bring your best fart jokes with you.
Awesome, man.
Got some
Yeah,
good
we'd
stuff
love
to
do
talk
that.
about soon too,
That'd be
man. We
great.
got
Exactly.
some real Caleb football. Caleb playing. We got Hard Knocks. We're gonna have some
Yeah.
good stuff to talk about.
Oh
A lot
man,
of good
yeah,
stuff.
and plenty more videos now that I'm gonna have content to come up with.
Yes,
too. So yeah,
indeed. That
it
helps,
is
right?
exciting. Yes, and once again, thank you to everybody watching, and have a good night. Bear down.